You guys already know, so let's go. Right off the bat, I already have some things I want to say. Great job on the camera work. The framing is really nice, and I like that you're actually able to keep the camera panning, and it doesn't ever feel too jittery like you're messing up a frame or something. That happens to me, so I know it's definitely a possibility that can happen to other people. And in the end of the video, when you had the live action part, like where the camera was panning, you should have added some kind of gray Lego piece to cover outside of the set. That way, it doesn't break the illusion automatically. But now let's talk about what actually happens in the video. The idea in and of itself is really easy, but you're actually able to pull it off to be its own thing and actually creative. You could have cut this to just be a simple fight and like a blank base play and like things are just sorted out that way, but you give it a small set of story that in the beginning it really set everything up. I also really like how you make Eddie transform into Venom. A lot of people just have a little bit of the clay slowly overtake the body, but you just went with the whole tentacle thing all across his body and then it covers his face. That was actually really impressive. I cannot even fathom how long it took just to do that. Actually, all the Venom stuff you did were actually really good practically. Since I'm also supposed to criticize, I guess that you could get some darker clay. What I do when I want to get a clay to be a different color, you can also just use a marker on it. I've done it sometimes when my blacks are not black enough, so I just have to add a marker on top of it. I believe it does go away by itself. But outside of that, everything was pretty enjoyable. The only thing I would actually actively change is the sound effects, because they didn't sound as impactful as what was going on in the video. I already know there's a whole thing about purposefully adding the Lego breaking sound effects, but it could have also overlapped the actual impactful sounds. Yeah, outside of that, this is a very solid video. 8 out of 10.
On me, ice cream.
When I see you moving around the camera, it kind of looks a little buggy. You need to work more on the easing in and out for it. And this is because you have a few frames that go smooth and there's one that's always a big jump. So it gives us this little stutter. The one thing in this video that's absolutely perfect is the set design. It never feels like you're lacking a little too much or any of that. Everything feels like it was made with an intent and you pulled it off. You even fill up the small parts, like for example the rooms, the comic book, you actually make a small design for it, which I can't even imagine how tough it would be to make a comic that small for a Lego figure to hold. And you even have like background people walking and such. However, the lighting in the entire video just kind of feels the same. The indoor lighting is basically the same with the outdoor lighting. Don't be afraid to film something that's a little bit dimmer, because experimenting will help you improve. One more thing you have to watch out for is that when people are talking to one another or when there's any outside noise, I always notice that the speaking is always the quietest out of all things. Either lower the sound effects of everything else or try to increase the volume for the audio of people speaking. Also, high praise for you going out of your way to edit everyone's mouth when they speak. For an 8-minute long video, that's actually really impressive. And for the ending of the video, it just didn't feel like a proper ending. There was no actual resolution. We were in the right of the climax of the story and there was no actual resolution. If you didn't want to have a slow decline for your ending, you could have started with the cliffhanger, and there was no cliffhanger here either, because what you saw was exactly what just happened. There isn't more that you can add onto that. So yeah, there's some things that can be improved on in this video, but overall it's still pretty solid. 7 out of 10. The shaky camera is a big issue in this video. Later on, when Iron Man is falling from this building, it actually makes sense, but for the other entire chunk of the video, it really just makes everything very dizzy and hard to look at. You're gonna either need to have your phone up there, or you're gonna need something to hold onto your phone when you're filming. And the shaky camera gets worse when you see that the camera is very zoomed in, so it makes it harder to actually see what's going on. And that's mainly because when you zoom in with a digital camera, which could be your phone, there is no extra resolution, you're just losing resolution. Because the shaky cam actually does work for the ending, and it looks really good, but the issue is that since it looks really bad for the rest of the video, it kind of lowers it all down. So I'm sorry, this has to be a 3 out of 10. A vast amount of the percent of the time the green screen was in this video was actually done really well. I like that you added your laser effects on top of the green screen, so it always looked a little bit more realistic by doing that. But it did begin to fall apart when your camera was not on focus. And when it wasn't that, it was because the camera was moving a bit. You can see a lot of effort in this video, and the quality was more or less the same throughout the whole thing. Something else you could have worked on more is by having the ending be something. I'm not trying to sound like I have attitude though, but like really, like the video just ended by itself. There was no resolution and there was no exact climax either. The video just kind of ended, because of which I have to give you a 7.8 out of 10. The lighting in this video is absolutely amazing, since even when it gets dark and things are hard to look at, there's always a flash of light somewhere, so it always keeps your mind busy knowing where everything is. And that's actually a really smart way to deal with dark lighting. The floating objects, and especially the digital stuff like the lightsabers, is done very well. I like that when they contact stuff, they actually move around like if they're actual physical stuff, so even though it's all 2D, it really feels authentic. And especially when stuff are being moved from side to side, the camera actually goes along with that, and I really love that. The thing here we can both see that needs to be fixed is the focus. focus. Somewhere in some comment you said something about you just didn't know that was a thing. So quick advice, when you do actually add focusing, don't do it automatically, do it with the manual setting on the stop motion app. Because if you do stuff automatically, the lighting could mix up and that could cause more issues with this video. But nonetheless, this is a very solid video, 9 out of 10. Me describing this video is kind of weird. It kind of feels like an old YouTube video, like something you would find and it would say like 11 years ago. Maybe it's the sound effects and the lighting, but it all just comes together like if this is an old ancient video you found from YouTube. But just like the Venom video early on, this is actually a really creative idea that could have gone for the basic base plate route, but you actually went out of your way to make this really cool to watch. And I'll always give props to someone going above and beyond. When I say all the T-Rex stuff, I mean all the T-Rex stuff were absolutely done amazingly. Like all the movements actually felt authentic. You moved every single joint, which I know took even more time, but you still did it. And the best part is that the effort actually pulled off what you wanted. It really felt like you actually brought this dinosaur to life. Everything felt authentic, everything felt real. I would work on the sound effects though, because they just don't feel as strong as the stuff that's going on in the video, and sometimes the lighting clips, but that's just a small thing to worry about. Like, you can just fix that by yourself naturally as you get better. But none of those things underlight the fact that this video is pretty solid with the action and stuff like that. So easily a 9.5 out of 10. Alright, where do I even begin with this video? The fact you have this many Lego pigs, when I do something like that where I have several of one group of people, I just usually mask them together, but I don't even know where you get these many Lego pigs. No way they're actually authentic Lego pigs. You probably had to like buy them off a reseller. No way you just get this many and just casually just walk around day to day knowing you have this many. And you could have stopped it there. That would have been a solid like 6 or 7 out of 10 video, but then you actually gave it a solid plot and it was actually entertaining to watch. I've noticed that for a big pattern in this video, people have very simple ideas, but then they just go out of the way to make it really creative. The animations were very solid. I guess sometimes, especially in the beginning of the video, it was just too overexposed and it was too grayish, but later on in the video it was fixed. Inside and outside set designs were done very well. This video also does prove the fact that not all videos can be rated the same way, because having low quality sounds for some videos is a bad thing, but it really depends on how it's being taken. Like for this video, when the sound effects are kind of like low quality, like when people are speaking, it doesn't hurt the video because it's taken a more comedic sense. But like for example the Kick-Ass video earlier on, when it was lower quality, it did damage the video because it was trying to take itself more seriously. The best way to review a video is the same way you review art, which is basically what purpose did it have and how well did it do to fulfill that purpose. And this video did just that perfectly, so 10 out of 10. I didn't originally review this video with the rest of them, but I just had to add this here because I just had to talk about it. Alright, so this video is basically the golden standard for how you're gonna begin a series. Not everything is explained, but it doesn't matter because what is shown as interesting. The minimal editing and such gives this video such tension that in your confusion you actually build more of it up, and that by itself just keeps the video more interesting. Even though some of the walking cycles do look janky, you can see it being overshadowed by literally everything else. This is not much of a review for this video, more of a shout out. So I just want to give this a 10 out of 10. Alright, so back to the normal recording.
But I want it to be you. I want it.
I've watched your videos before and I like that you're always very capable in having the landscape move correctly when someone is driving. Overall, it's also very well framed. However, the contrast of the video as a whole does shift a lot. So there's some parts that should be edited to have more contrast and some that should be lowered a bit. Sometimes when you watch a video, you can just tell it was made out of passion, and I can see that in this video very well. And that gives this video some extra charm. There are some parts though that you can just tell it's zoomed in, so this is why I tell a lot of people to go and buy a macro lens so they can get closer to stuff without it looking like they're zooming in. But luckily, it's not that crazy in this video, so it's very tolerable. Therefore, I'm giving you an 8.5 out of 10. To have improved that score, you could have just had both of the plots in the video unite as something, and that by itself would have made the video perfect. Alright, this is the last video, but it's certainly, and I mean certainly, not the least. The set designs here, top notch. Figures here look amazing. The lighting always matches its shots. Digital effects, beautiful. Music choices are also natural, and it all wraps around itself very well. There's nothing I can really tell you to improve on because this is miles ahead of anything I've done. You generally make it feel like there's more than whatever set you're filming on, and that's such an achievement almost no one can do. This is a casual 11 out of 10. Alright, I'm trying to upload more now, so that's why there's less people per review. But if you want to be in the next one, just say your video in the comments and it's probably going to be in the next one. Alright, so like, subscribe, share, and see you guys next time.